In this video, I want to run through why most e-commerce founders do not have a good experience when they work with an agency. And it's because the agency calls out a win and the founder goes, my bank account has decreased. That's fundamentally the number one issue that I see with this relationship that occurs. Now, that's not to say that there aren't other issues. We could probably sit here for the next 20 minutes and talk about 20 different issues, which I might do in a few weeks' time. But in this video, I want to touch on the number one issue that I see, the disconnect between founder and agency that occurs within the marketing, the digital space, that really causes a breakdown in relationship equity and then a breakdown in trust and ability to execute across the marketing channels. What that is a marketing win does not equal a financial outcome win. And that is where the issues always start to arise. And I'm sure you've had this experience if you're an eComm founder. Even if you work in an agency, you're probably doing this right now. And you can think of a few examples, which is that you've hopped on a call and you've said, I hope you're having a great day. Results are awesome. CPCs are down, ROAS is up, everything's looking great. And then the client has gone, everything's looking terrible. What are we talking about here? And there's this immediate disconnect of expectations where the account manager, the marketing agency thought that things were doing incredible, but the actual founder is of a very different mindset and thinks that things are actually doing awfully. Now, that could be due to expectation setting. That could be the fact that the founder thought there was going to be a 3x in the first 30 days and poor expectation setting on the agency's part. That could, of course, be the case. But what I'm talking to about here is a disconnect between a marketing win and an actual financial outcome win. A founder is always looking for a financial outcome win. We are using Facebook, Google Ads, we're using marketing as a lever, as a tool for driving profit contribution within the business. That is fundamentally how a founder is thinking about the ad accounts, even if they don't know that that's the language that they should associate with that thought. The issue is that CTRs, CPCs, ROAS, attributed revenue, none of these things actually correlate to a better financial outcome to the business. They might be pre-intent signals, they might be leading indicators for a future outcome being more profit, which ends up being a lagging indicator of inputs done now for the desired output. But it doesn't mean that we made more profit last week. And so there's been this rise over the course of the last few years, which is much needed to try to correct that disconnect, which is this reorientation towards MER, blended CAC, more store level metrics. One of the primary drivers of that being such an effective way to better manage a marketing media strategy is because it actually correlates to financial outcomes. And so we're getting one step closer to, hey, this is actually the results and you can see it in your P&L, right? If we're tracking MER and we have an MER target, at the end of the quarter when they get their P&L statement, it will reflect in that P&L statement. And so there's a connection between what I come to the meeting and report to you on and what you actually see in your bank account and your P&L statement, which is fantastic. And so that's a slight move in the right direction, which I think is better orientating agencies and creating a better connection between what we deem as a win and what the founder deems as a win. However, I still think there's a huge disconnect that still exists within that communication style. And the issue is that most marketing managers, most performance marketers, most media buyers still lack a huge degree of understanding around the actual way that cash moves within an e-commerce business. They also lack the understanding around P&L structure and operating expenses. And so what ends up happening in quite a lot of instances, and this is the reason why I have this P&L up here as well, is that there might be an MER target of, let's say, a 4. And in December, you spend nearly $100,000 and you hit the 4. And so you come to the meeting and it's a win. We hit the 4 MER, we spent what we wanted to spend, fantastic. And the client opens up their P&L, has a chat to their accountant, and they go, we lost $16,000 last month. This was not a win. We needed to do more efficiency or we needed to spend more. And there's this immediate disconnect where the agency had a target, they had a goal, they hit the goal, they thought it was a win because they're still kind of in the platform, they're just kind of grabbing from gross revenue and including it so it kind of looks like they know what's going on. but really they have no idea what's going on. Why was that a disconnect? And most often founders won't know why either, is the issue. And so founders won't be able to articulate very effectively why that wasn't a win. It's going to be a simple communication of, we just need to spend more and we just need to do more efficiency. And then the performance marketers coming away from that conversation going, we can never win. We had a spend target that we needed to hit. We had an efficiency. We hit them both. And then the result was we need to do it even more, even better. Like, we're always going to try to do even more, even better. But why does this disconnect occur? And it's because there's so many lacking sets of knowledge on that performance marketer that's creating this disconnect between the financial outcome and what they're actually doing. And I'll give you two, but there's like 5 in here. It gets more and more nuanced as you go down the list. But the 2 main ones are going to be, number 1, erosion of margin as you discount. And so even though efficiency targets were hit, if discounting went up, and you can see this in the graph right here, if discounting went up from $3,000, which is like 1% discounting, and it goes up to 70, so they've suddenly gone and they've started discounting by 25%, well, then cost of goods as a percentage of revenue jumps from 34 to 41%, which means 5% off EBITDA. So let's say they were operating on 10% net, 5% disappears overnight. And so their profitability halves just because of the discounting. And so if a performance marketing team, if an agency doesn't understand that relationship and can't actually calculate the exact amount that the cost of goods percentage is going to predictively change, then they're not going to know how efficiency targets should change as well. And generally, it's not on the founder to be able to do this and know the math, because they're generally not a marketing and financial operator. That's why they have a marketing partner, and that's why they generally have some kind of financial partner as well, being an accountant, a bookkeeper. They might even have a fractional CFO. And so to reset expectations and targets to ensure that a financial outcome is hit that everyone's happy with, it takes someone that understands this relationship and goes, hey, actually, no. December, I know we were targeting a 4 MER, but that would actually result in a loss. We need to improve that to a 4.8 to make money. And then it's through that proactivity of changing the goalpost to something that reflects actual profitability that the relationship equity is grown or improved. And that the end of the month, okay, maybe we missed, but the conversation is coming in as, we missed targets. We hit a 4. We should have hit a 4.8. We did the math at the start of the month. Here's X, Y, and Z as to why. Completely different relationship dynamic there, as it was already identified exactly why efficiency had to improve, exactly why efficiency didn't improve, and then what the consequential next steps are. But when there's this lack of clarity as to why we don't, like, why did the goalpost change? Why did they lose money? No one knows what's going on. It just results in a bad agency experience. I'll give you a second example, which is operating expenses. We make every client that onboards provide us with their operating expenses. Not only that, I get line item by line item. And the reason why I need to get line item by line item is because most 7-figure founders don't actually know what should be allocated as an operating expense. And that's no fault of theirs. Most people aren't strong financial operators because no one wants to be completely frank, no one wants to be looking at a P&L and understanding how they should be segmenting line items across it. Hire an accountant, hire a bookkeeper. I don't want to do it. So we get them to give us all their line items so we can make sure that they're actually giving us correct operating expenses. And then we know how many contribution dollars we need to generate. And so this is another reorientation in terms of another North Star metric. Yes, MER is fantastic, cool, glad we're reporting on it. But how many contribution dollars do we need to generate to cover operating expenses to be profitable? Because if we don't know that, then sure, we don't actually have any idea where we should set advertising expenses. We don't have any idea where we should set efficiency targets. It means nothing to us. If we don't know how much contribution dollars we need to generate to have a financial outcome that everyone's happy with, then how do we set targets? How do we know what to do? And so I see this as one of the fundamental flaws with the agency experience that a lot of e-commerce founders have when they're working with a marketing agency, which is this disconnect between what the marketing agency deems as a win and genuinely sees as a win. This isn't some, and this is why sometimes agencies come across as they're trying to deceive a client. And trust me, a lot definitely are. But there are some really good intent So there's some really good intentioned agencies that are out there to actually do good, to actually help you out. But it seems like they're throwing you wins that aren't actually wins, and they're trying to deceive you, where they are actually genuine. They just don't have the knowledge set. They don't have the deep understanding of financial operations within e-commerce to be able to make this connection between the financial outcomes that you're trying to orientate themselves to and the actual marketing wins that they're saying that they're orientating themselves to, even if they do go all the way to MER. Even if you do think that they're starting to scrape into higher level business metrics, there's still a disconnect.